Welcome to the world of horror. Follow along and experience a story that will stay with you long after it ends. Salosia was a small hill town by the sea in Spain. It was known for its narrow lanes, old stone houses, and the constant echo of church bells ringing through the day. In sunlight, the town looked like a postcard, peaceful, almost painted. But when night fell, everything changed. A strange chill settled into the air, and the silence became unsettling. This is the story of 19-year-old Matteo Gurro. Matteo had recently moved from Madrid. He was an architecture student, fascinated by old European towns. Salosia, with its ancient churches and century-old homes, was perfect for his research. He spent his days sketching buildings, studying structures, and documenting history. But there was something odd about the town. As evening approached, people disappeared into their homes. Shops closed early. Streets emptied quickly. No one stayed outside after dark. At first, Matteo thought it was just a habit. Until one evening, he had gone to study an old cemetery beside the church. While walking among the graves, he noticed something strange. A broken wedding arch near one corner. It looked out of place, as if a ceremony had once been held there. And abandoned. Dry, lifeless flowers hung from it. The ground beneath seemed darker than the rest, as if it held memories it refused to release. Matteo ignored it and returned to his room. But that night, something followed him. While working late, he heard faint footsteps outside. Slow, dragging, unnatural. He looked out the window. The street was empty. Then, at the far corner, he saw her, a white figure, standing completely still. It looked like a woman in a long gown. Matteo leaned forward, and she vanished. The next night, the sound returned, closer this time. He opened the window. A sudden cold breeze rushed in, chilling the room despite the summer heat. It felt as if someone had just passed by him. He looked down at the road. Fresh footprints. Wet, muddy, leading toward the cemetery. His curiosity overpowered his fear. He followed them. The town was silent. Not a single light in the windows. Not a single sound. When he reached the cemetery, the air felt heavier, colder. He stepped inside, slowly, carefully, moving between the graves, until he reached the broken wedding arch. And then, he saw her again. A woman stood beneath it, wearing an old white wedding gown. A veil covered her face. She didn't move. She was waiting. Matteo's heart began to race. He took a step forward. The wind suddenly stopped. The silence became suffocating. Then the woman moved. Slowly, she turned toward him. Her veil lifted just enough for him to see her face. Matteo froze. Her skin was unnaturally pale. Her eyes were hollow, dark, and lifeless. And beneath them, faint streaks of dried blood, like tears that had fallen long ago. Then he noticed something even worse. Her feet were not touching the ground. Matteo couldn't breathe. He couldn't move. And just as suddenly as she appeared, she disappeared. Gone. As if she had never been there. Matteo ran back to his room and didn't sleep that night. The next morning, pale and shaken, he spoke to the old caretaker of the guest house. At first, the man refused to say anything. But when Matteo mentioned the wedding arch, the caretaker's face changed. He went silent for a moment. Then, in a low voice, he began to speak. The story began in 1889. A wedding was to take place in Salosia. The bride, Isabella Romero, and the groom, Javier Morales, were known as the happiest couple in town. Because the church was under renovation, a wedding pavilion had been built near the cemetery. On the night of the wedding, guests gathered. Music played. Lights shone. Isabella arrived. But Javier never did. Hours passed. And then the truth came out. He had run away, left her behind, for someone else. Isabella refused to believe it. She stood beneath the wedding arch all night, waiting. The air grew colder. The guests left one by one, but she stayed, alone, heartbroken, waiting for someone who would never return. And before the sun rose, she collapsed, dead. Some say it was shock. Others say her heart simply gave up. She was buried in that same cemetery, under the shadow of that very arch. And after that night, people began to see her, a woman in a white wedding gown, standing beneath the arch, waiting, always waiting. They called her the dead bride.